Hello, good morning, and how are you doing? You look all looking great today. Very welcome to Collision 2022. I'm Colm, I'm a producer with Collision and Web Summit. You're very welcome to our Q&A area here at the event. A lot of fun here. Some of our top speakers are making time to spend with us and with you and take your questions. It's your opportunity to get up close and personal with some of our top speakers and ask some questions you've been burning to know for many, many years. So what we're going to do is, this is about you, not me. It's about you and our speaker. So if you have a question for our next speaker, do raise your hands. We've got our amazing crew. Yes, we do it. We have a crew here, and we have a crew over here. Hi, guys. So we're going to look after this side and that side. If you just raise your hands, and we will get to you in rotation, okay? And don't touch the mics. Our crew will hold the mics, and do speak up as well so everybody can hear you. So we're filming this, of course, for publishing online as well, so we want everybody to hear you. Our next speaker here at Q&A stage is a general partner at Race Capital, investing in early stage infrastructure, fintech, crypto, and deep tech verticals. She has invested in 3 decacorns, companies worth north of $10 billion, FTX, Solana, and Stellar, 1 unicorn, Agora.io, and 60 other amazing startups. She's a venture capitalist, formerly with 500 startups, technology executives, and a China internet expert, and author of and creator of the China Internet Report. Could you please welcome Edith Yeung? She comes. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, yes. Welcome, Edith. And we'll get a bit of volume on Edith's mic too.
Testing. Hey.
Okay.
I can't wait to go back to Hong Kong with you.
Yes, myself and Edith had dinner in Hong Kong. Now, we weren't alone. There was about 20 other executives there, but we had dinner in Hong Kong back in 2019.
Yeah, let's all go. Why not? Let's all go. I can't wait.
Okay, yes. Okay, welcome to Collision. Are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah, it's amazing. Congratulations for the great turnout.
Yeah, brilliant. So, and actually, you can get Edith's center stage talk at about 10 to 12 today. But it's all about your Q&As today, or your Qs, her As. So let's get our hands up and go straight to it. We'll come to you next, and let's get this girl here first.
So what will the next generation of blockchains or cryptos or Web3 will look like?
Wow, that's a big question. Just to start, that probably take 30 minutes. I think we're done. Everybody can go home now. Well, I think that the way that I look at Web3 and crypto in general, not to go so esoteric about all this, is I think like Solana and Ethereum of the world, to me, the way that I look at it is basically like the Amazon Web Services of Web3. So in many sense, the way that I kind of like see the world, we see really, and by the way, I do actually think, even though I'm obviously biased towards Solana, but I do think this is a multi-chain world. And it's just some sense, like if you look at Web 2, there's AWS, there's Microsoft Azure, and there's GCP, Google Cloud Services. So there are going to be developers building on different blockchain. But what we're seeing more and more is, was really, and by the way, like Race Capital, we really focus on investing in sort of the infrastructure layer of the web, which means that there's a lot of really amazing NFT project or gaming or social, but we don't invest in the application level. But what's really exciting, and in some sense, like thanks to Facebook, because many of us are tired of getting other people to monetize with our own data. So in many sense that we're seeing more and more application where it is building on the Solana or the Ethereum of the world, but there's still so many developers' tools in between that's missing. Regardless, it's from a data point of view, security point of view, just general developers' tools that we're seeing more and more that's super interesting. For example, like we recently invested in a company called Notify. So Notify is basically the messaging layer. If you are, bidding on a particular NFT, you constantly have to go back and check and see, hey, did I get it, did I not? That really should be a personalized push notification to the user, but that doesn't really exist today. Essentially, the way that I describe it, Notify is basically Twilio, but for Web3. We also invested in Bundler recently, which is a scalability solution for storage, which built on top of Arweave. Arweave is similar to Filecoin. It's all about decentralized storage systems. And we're seeing more and more of these sort of like the in-between application and the layer-based layer one. So I'm super excited about sort of the next gen in terms of Web3. We'll see a lot more developers tools that we would love to invest in.
Okay, good stuff. We had a gentleman over here in the blue T-shirt.
Hey, thanks for being here. A couple questions. So with Axie Infinity and Steppins, like recent explosion in growth, what role do you believe play to earn, move to earn, X to earn has in Web3's growth?
Yeah, I think Steppin and Axie are both super fun. For those of you who may or may not know, Axie Infinity is actually a team that based out of Vietnam. But there are huge adoption in Philippines where they literally like have leagues that they will like play, and I play everything once. So I do think that like this whole concept of play to earn or play to sleep or play to do whatever is such a fun way of gamification to drive user adoption. And a lot of the user will feel like, oh great, like I'm contributing and making money at the same time. And Steppin, of course, is built on Solana, huge supporter of them. I actually think that the way that I look at it is a few things, not necessarily just for the gaming or the social piece, or have incentivized activities to sort of drive a lot of the adoption. And I actually think that the key thing is to look at a few ways. One is a lot of the adoption of these apps are actually not in North America. I actually think that like worldwide, that's why I can't wait to go back to Hong Kong. I actually think that all of us, if we can travel freely again, like to that part of the world, there's so much interesting use cases, regardless gaming and social, or all various different things we have not thought about that may or may not come from the US or Canada. I actually think that, by the way, top 10 countries, regardless is trading or usage, number one in the world, I think a few months ago I was reading, is actually Vietnam. Trading actually top 5 is between Korea, Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and these are like really, really exciting countries and places where we should actually really learn from. So I do think that there's a lot of really interesting sort of play to earn or play to blank that will come up and drive adoption. But more importantly, we should actually learn from thinking, if you guys are working on anything sort of related to on the application level, is think hard, don't just launch a token for token's sake, but sometimes you have nothing to do with it. But really, if you're thinking about application level, is think hard about what make an interesting gameplay, and what is really good in terms of monetization. And then the token part should be icing on the cake, but not the core of what you're trying to build.
Did you have one more question, or was that it? Okay, that's it. Well, let's take somebody else. We might come back, actually. We might come back. This gentleman here with the glasses next, please. No, behind you. Thanks.
So we've got a first-to-market solution for managing volatility in the crypto space. For B2C, possibly B2B, we've been working on it. It's been in development for 4 years, private beta for the past 2. We're ready to start raising funds, Series A funds. We've bootstrapped to date. I've raised several Series A in the past, but in other sandboxes, never in the tech sandbox. Any pointers?
I wanted to just sort of give everybody like sort of updates on the general market in terms of fundraising. Like if you're working on any crypto-related projects, I would say. And by the way, we were just talking backstage. I forgot that 4 or 5 years ago, I actually wrote on what to look for in a token project from an investment point of view. It's on SlideShare if you quickly Googled it. Literally, I have like a 13 points of things that we look at. But just to state in terms of fundraising for crypto in general, I think, of course, I spend a lot more time mostly in Silicon Valley, and I think for the last. By the way, the market has shifted quite a bit in the last 30 days, which is kind of crazy. But having said that, if you're a really good team, good background, have done something before, most of the project that we're looking at could raise anywhere from, let's say, $1.5 million up to 5-6 million in terms of seed. This is definitely not unheard of. Of course, like if you come from certain projects, and sometimes the valuation even more insane. But I would say like anywhere from like 1 to 5 or 1 to 6 has been typical. Before the crash, valuation could be anywhere from 20 to 60. But I have to say in the last 30 days, it dropped anywhere from like 30 to 50%. Have a lot to do with because, yeah, the secondary, well, regardless of public market in the equity world or crypto market, both have shifted quite a bit. So my suggestion is, if you guys can afford it, a few things. We've been recommending most of our companies to raise at least 18 months to 2 years. We just don't know what's going to happen, with the downturn. Just to make sure you have enough cash and runway to survive. That's one thing. But more importantly is, if you can afford it, sometimes it's double-edged sword because whatever that you're working on, regardless is for market volatility or certain token project, the first question as an investor, we usually ask ourselves, are there already solutions that is similar? Like what's your competitor doing in terms of angle? Are you focused on a particular blockchain? So let's say, in the past we see a lot of similar project from the Aave or the Curve in the Ethereum world repeat in the Solana world and repeat in the Near or Avalanche and who knows, many other blockchains. But now, because of what's going on with the market, sometimes that narrative may or may not work. So you have to be really, really clear on whatever you work on. How do you actually compare to each of the very layer one in terms of your project? So happy to learn more. I think at the end of the day, what I wanted to sort of share with everyone was being super aware of what's happening in the market, very clear on who your competitors are, or a similar project on different layer one. So then when we have that conversation, then we know that what's happening in the market, and then we'll chat from there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we've got this lady here with the shades on her head. Actually, just allow our crew hold on.
Yes,
Thanks.
sorry. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to learn from your experiences. One of the things I'm most excited about in Web3 is the ownership economy and the ability for people to increasingly have ownership. I'm curious from an infrastructure perspective, what are some opportunities that you see that aren't yet being worked on with respect to the ownership economy?
There are so many things that need to be worked on. But there's a few things I think is interesting, although there are people working on it, but we haven't found a solution that we invested in yet. There are a lot of talks around DAO, and I think there will be interesting sort of like DAO management in general, regardless of, I don't want to call the word payroll, although you obviously most of the communication is done on Discord. But there is sort of like that divide and conquer. If I do X, then I'm going to actually earn certain token. And there's a lot of like tooling and management around it that is not done well yet. I think this is interesting for us to learn. We're seeing more and more, and although I know like some of my Web3 investor friends may not like for me to say it, but we're seeing more and more, really, like particular for NFT related thing, like the mass is coming in. There's a lot of users because they love a particular artist or a movie star launching certain token project which have no idea what crypto is about and have no clue like what is the wallet. And so we're seeing more and more, sometimes we call it like the Web 2.5, really on the payment rail, on using just normal payment method to get into crypto for the first time. And I actually think that is super, super exciting. And then more and more just in general, there are definitely projects out there, but we haven't found the solution we wanted to. Is just make NFT creation and that whole process for people who are not technical easier. The WordPress of NFT, I don't think that really exists yet, and I'm excited about it. I have tons of friends in the art world really want to get into the game, but they're like, what? Like, what is ERC 721? What is Metaplex for Solana? It's still a little bit complicated. Like without technical skills, you need help, and it will be so interesting, like to be able to, invest in a project like that.
Okay. Just gentlemen. Oh, you're okay. That gentleman with the glasses, and then we'll go to this gentleman here at the back. So just that gentleman first.
What is your stand on DAOs? You briefly mentioned, but do you think that it will be the future of company structure?
A great question. I can talk about it like philosophically all day long. I actually think that is kind of fun, like to think about this as like a digital LLC in some sense, and make things like go in and out and be part of this company a lot easier, and really like make voting a lot more transparent. I really love the essence of it, but sometimes I think that being so transparent and trying to be so, I guess, decentralized in terms of decision making also have its con. I think at the end of the day, regardless, even for a crypto project, you do need leadership to really help drive change, bug fixes, and a lot of these things. I don't think DAO will replace like normal company setup whatsoever, but I do think it's definitely something is here to stay, and particularly like just the Web3 nature itself, like decentralized and distributed. That concept is like perfect for DAO. Although that's why I'm really looking for like a better DAO management, because sometimes now it's actually so hard to, get people to be accountable, to be able to track. I committed to do X. Unfortunately, in this world, not everybody do what you say you would do. So therefore, I'm hoping for a better tooling and leadership on various DAO organization.
Okay, I've actually been ignoring this chap in, not on purpose, in the black shirt. You and then that gentleman in the white hoodie, so we'll get him after. Thanks.
Hello, thank you so much. So recently I've been trying to get into crypto and Web3, and it has been very complicated, and I've asked my artist friends, as you said, like it has been very complicated for them. How do you think this Web3 world will go into mainstream media and everything?
Yeah, so I always love to draw from sort of history, even though like we're supposed to invest in the future. But sometimes I think the future is built so much from, from what we're all like sort of on the shoulder of the giants in many sense. If you kind of look back when iPhone was launched, I think it was 2008, there was no app store. Actually, the first version of it had no app store. But what really made the iPhone great was a handful of killer apps. And the developer would naturally come. By the way, I used to work on a mobile browser, mostly on the Android. It was called Dolphin browser. We're very, very early on the Android. And I think any sort of developer platform, regardless it's Ethereum or Solana, or if the user, actually, the developer will want to work on it if there is a lot of users want to use their stuff. Being a developer myself in the past, if I only have like a few hundred people wanted to use my stuff, I'm not excited to build on it. And so I would say like the 2021 really was a DeFi year of DeFi. I think this year, regardless of what happened with the market, is a year of NFT. So the NFT side of things are actually a little bit very, very different user base compared to the DeFi projects. If you guys are really into crypto, just go on like either Doom Analytics or Nansant. They actually will keep track of the daily active user, MAU, DAU for Ethereum or for Solana. Solana right now is 2 million daily active users. And a lot of them is actually DeFi related. And DeFi active users, honestly, is less than 10,000. It's not that many people, but they make a lot of noise because it's money related. So I think I'm excited about NFT more so is because now we have a different layer of like artists and songwriters and really excited about it. They're excited about it. The key thing is because they can actually, part of the smart contract to code it in is perpetual royalties. This is something that all the artists is so excited about. And that would drive a whole new generation of it. So we're missing like the WordPress of NFT. We like make it super easy for people to actually buy NFT. We should make it super easy for people to store and less complicated than the scary passphrase. All these need to be built, and that's why we're so excited about like sort of the developers and then tooling side of things.
Okay, thank you. If you could just, okay, we'll come to you two guys next. Could we grab this guy here at the back? Oh, our crew is behind you. Well done.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like recently countries like, the United States and China announced like digital dollar and digital yuan. Do you think that's creating a challenge to the fundamentals of blockchain and DeFi?
Great question. I haven't been back to China or Hong Kong for 2.5, almost 3 years now. And on the China side, like more just an update, it's called DCEP, Digital Electronic Currency Protocol or something. The Chinese government worked really, really hard to like basically push out their digital yuan through Alipay and WeChat Pay, like to basically push merchant to accept the digital yuan. And at least like my understanding is they have actually pushed out to quite a few number of cities already. Have a lot to do with because the widely use of the wallets for Alipay and WeChat Pay. I actually think that is the opposite of the essence of what decentralized finance is about, because government digital is all about monitoring. Is actually not about decentralization. It's all about centralization. So having said that, I think all the countries are thinking about it because at the end of the day, government wants to have control. They wanted to have transparency for their own sake to monitor what's going on. And I think a lot of governments are being challenged by a potential so many of these entities that control financial system with them, having them to have the ultimate power of control. So I don't want to get into politics, although this is sometimes political, but I actually think the essence of it is quite opposite of what DeFi is about.
Okay, good stuff. We'll come to you. We have two questions here with this lady here first with the mask.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I think there are several questions about the crypto world right now is very, very hard to use, like NFTs. I'm personally in user experience, and I was wondering what your thoughts are in terms of adoption. Is it going to go into big platforms like Apple Pay or Cash App? So, because a lot of people are very scared right now, because a lot of people lose money and lose their keys, or like there needs to be like a Macintosh of crypto to come out for it to gain more adoption.
Yeah, I think like right now the whole user experience is a bit broken. Although, of course, it's very, very unfair of me saying all these things because I'm very Solana focused. I actually do think like the Solana experience, I think they just launched on OpenSea, but Solana to Magic Eden or Solana to Solana Art, particularly with the Phantom wallet experience, is not bad. It's getting a lot better. So essentially, like the wallet itself, in addition to all your token, you also like have all the digital NFT in your Phantom wallet itself. It's pretty well done. And then another concept to think about it. I think many of us is so used to sort of the Web 2 experience where via Facebook Connect or using Google as the entry point of account entry. But the concept that's definitely have changed for me, at least, the wallet right now act like Facebook Connect. So therefore, there is a little bit of that, I guess, uneasiness because I shouldn't have Facebook Connect combined with all my money and combined with everything. I do actually think that the wallet is getting better and better. It's not as scary as before, but it still definitely need to improve. I think the new generation, a lot of folks that's working on, is really just, although this is, I can tell you like the religious folks who is about decentralization will hate it because if you're going to have somebody else to store all your secret phase, then wait, it's all centralized all over again. So I think this sort of broken experience where some people will really just, I wanted to hold all my passkey, that will be here to stay because those are the ultimate folks that just want ultimate control on your own stuff. But for folks that, like yours, and by the way, I forget things all the time. So there will be like the Facebook Connect of Web3 for folks who are actually very, very comfortable with somebody else storing all my passphrase. That will exist and it's coming soon.
Okay, and the gentleman beside her, please.
How are you?
I meant the other gentleman, but we'll go to you next.
So I'm the co-founder of a company called Hyperspace. We're building a browser-based blockchain. So we're getting ready for our next round of funding. Can you talk a little bit about if your preferences have changed between raising versus equity versus on a SAFT?
Great question. I think the question really around what's the method, I guess, for fundraising these days. Actually, by the way, even though you have thoughts around token economics, a lot of the folks may or may not have all these things figured out yet. So it's actually fairly common that you do a SAFE, but with a token warrant, or a SAF, which is simple agreement for future token. But usually that will have expectation of, okay, what's your I guess the team or the community figure out all these token economics, which you may or may not be ready. So in some sense, for investor who's active in token, if you not ready yet to go through this whole entire white paper and whatnot, it's actually okay to do SAFE per token warrant, just to make your life a little bit easier. But usually, most of the investor will ask for, as much as I invest in the equity, it will be the one-to-one on the token side of things. And so usually that is done via a side letter. It's been done many, many times, so it's not that complicated.
Okay, this guy here with the glasses, please.
Hi, my question is on regulation. What do you think the future of regulation will be, say, in the next 5 years? And how does that affect which companies you choose to invest in now?
First off, disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer and I don't have legal training. And in the past, particularly in 2018, I did actually write about as an investor, we need to be aware of the domicile for that particular companies. I can tell you, with a handful of token projects that we have invest, most of the time they may have a U.S. Delaware entity, but the foundation that actually control the token is sometimes could be Switzerland or Singapore or somewhere else. So we usually, whenever that happens, we actually, from an investor point of view, we need to engage a lawyer from overseas to kind of help us to navigate that. But having said that, regulatory-wise, I think very American style, usually there will be some lawsuit, some things going back and forth. I do actually think that, particularly in the US, the willingness to regulate is a good sign. I absolutely think that crypto as an asset class is here to stay. Just looking at even the old school financial oligarch from the Goldman or JP Morgan, every one of these guys have some sort of Bitcoin or some crypto ETF, some product they're offering. They wouldn't do that if they don't think this is going to be the future. So I think, but as an investor, in terms of where you're going to set things up, as much as obviously I'm looking out for myself. If you're Delaware, it's easier for us. But I actually do think that coming from your point of view, you should also look out for yourself, which is what makes sense for you as a founder in terms of tax. What is your target customer? So I invested in FTX. They launched in Hong Kong for a reason, because they were not serving Americans or North American customers, because there's just no rule at the time. So they're serving non-US customers. So they set up in Hong Kong for a reason. So when you decide what domicile you focus on, you should think about yourself, your user. Those come first. Investor comes second after your customer.
Okay, good stuff. We only have a couple of minutes left. Can I just say, great questions. Really good. Really good. This gentleman here with the Harvard t-shirt, did you go to Harvard, or is that just for decoration? You're taking a year off. Okay. Aren't we all? Good stuff.
Hi, with Jack Dorsey's new announcement about Web 5 and multiple different blockchains popping up, what are your thoughts about the long-term longevity? Do you think there's going to be sort of an Apple Android sort of system where maybe 2 or 3 blockchains are going to dominate, or do you feel that multiple blockchains are going to take are going to go down? Especially from a full stack perspective, Solana to Alchemy to all these different blockchains, Near, DeSo, they're all different in how you actually operate them. So what are your thoughts on those?
I wrote about it on my newsletter a couple of weeks ago. First off, I don't know if you guys keep track of the announcement of Web 5 and the TBD, which is the Block the Square company, spin off a separate company called TBD to work on this. And a lot of people on Twitter was like, what happened in Web 4? And wait a minute. And then like Snoop Dogg was saying, how about like Web 6? And then Elon tweeted, oh, how about 69? So I was just laughing. But I think like Web 5, I have a lot of respect for Jack Dorsey. And I think he are not so happy with Web 3, have a lot of, maybe he didn't come up with the name, first off. And then second, I do sometimes, there is a point where, remember like he had this whole Twitter war with Mark Andreessen and how like, oh, these certain token is really owned by the VCs. I think being an investor, we really is a community participant for the project, not only investors. And I think like Web 5 have a lot to do with on the identity side of things, which is interesting. But I actually don't really care whatever that you name it. At the end of the day, I think any new layer 1 or new sort of protocol that if he wanted to push is really about developer adoption. I think the key thing why Solana so far has such a great traction, particular starting in 2021, have a lot to do with, one is they have very, very high bar. If you imagine, like AWS is not purely just software or being fast and cheaper. It's a lot to do with because Solana have a very high bar in terms of the hardware that they run on. So all the 1,700 some validator, they have really high quality hardware to run on it. So therefore, I would highly encourage if you decide to work on Web 5, is kind of really think through, are there going to be enough users? Are there going to be enough developers? And at the end of the day, if there's not enough developer or users, the base layer, no one will be excited to support it. So choose with care.
Perfectly timed. Edith, thanks a million. Unfortunately, we are out of time. What a wonderful guest. Follow on Twitter at Edith Yeung. Yeah, for your tweets and your newsletter. And you can catch her on Center Stage as well, 10 to 12 today with Bill Owens and Brian Schroeder. Next here at 11:30 is MMA star Chris Cyborg, so do join us for that. Thanks again, Edith.
Thank you,
Pleasure.
Paul.